Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to start a new topic, intersection of solids, and this is probably the easiest one to come up 2017, right? So it tends to come up every year as an ordinary level question. For those who do an ordinary level, it's going to probably be on it. I don't think there's any year that it hasn't been on it. For higher level, it can come up as a long question, but tends more to be a short question. And after a few lessons, we look at some of the short questions that they've given you. I've printed them on. Now, I made a small mistake in that I put the questions up here to make it a bit easier for you to see when you're doing that, what you're meant to be doing, and just sort of to keep it neat and also to make it easy for revision. But the problem in what that I did was that this makes it very, very tight for the end view. And you'll see in some of the other questions there won't be space for the end view, so we'd have to draw them on the blank sheets that I provided you with. But for today, this one will work. However, this part here, we're going to draw on the end view. Let me actually think, maybe we keep the end view on this side. That might be the easiest way of looking at it, right? So we're just gonna work this way, and you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So the height here is 90. Okay, so unusually what I'm going to do with this case is I'm going to put, no, I won't. I'm going to keep the end view the way it would be because there's a reason why that, and I'll explain that in a second. So the height is 90, so I'm going to come down about 100. Now it is important that you follow my spacings or you're going to struggle for it to fit. Okay, so I'm going to draw a ground line like so, roughly down that size. Okay, and I can get my measurements here, which makes it a little bit easier for me. So apologies, there's an autofocus on this. This is why it's sort of going blurry every now and again. But you should be able to follow the general gist of it. So as I said, I'm just going to ignore this for the second. And I'm just going to draw this. We're going to actually put this over on this side. I could technically draw out both if I had enough space. But as I said, because of the way I've laid this out, I don't have both. But there wouldn't actually be no need to draw both. You would only have to draw one or the other. Okay, so this here is what we have. So we're going to say this is 100 and we can see that outjut is 22. Okay, so I'm going to come in maybe 10 millimeters and I'm going to start by drawing a light pink line. So if I draw it in pink on my page, that means that it's light on your page. So I'm going to draw it down on both views. This is going to be my front view, this is going to be my top view. So my height was 90, so I'll come up 90 and I'll draw that across like so. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I know this comes in 22, so we come in 22, and I know the length of it, if it's not given in this view, it must be given in this view, is 100. So we're happy. And as I said, it is critical, sorry my focus is going there, that I'm only 10 millimeters in from that side, no more. Okay, so there are my 2 points, and then half of that is obviously 50. Okay, I'll mark 50 and I'll bring that up. Right, so I'm going to now join this like so. Not down to that. Not down to that. There is my what do you call it? My tent shape or my triangle shape for my tent. Okay, and then I do know these sizes. I may as well put these in now. So I know that if I come up 45, I'll get this line, and if I come up 60, I'll get this line. So I'll mark these here. So 45 and 60, and we'll just draw them lightly across for the minute. Okay, so I just need to be careful here. This isn't flat at the front. It's going straight from a peak right down to the edge. Okay, so that's my front view. And we just carefully heavy in what's to be heavied in. So this goes up like so. This comes down to this line. This is heavy across as far as here. This is heavy across as far as here. And we have this. And you can see there they had a light line there just to show how it lines up. But this surface, as you can see sort of here from the graphic, technically blends in. There is no actual fold or edge there. It's all one piece of whatever it is, a plastic or fabric or whatever it is. So what I'll do now is basically I'll project these lines down. Okay, and I may as well project this one down because it will be needed. Okay, so the thing that I need to be careful of here is I can't leave too big a gap here, because whatever width of a gap here is what's going to be the same here. So again, 10 millimeters more. So you might say, oh, there's loads of space there. There is, but if we do leave it much bigger, we're going to have a problem with our end view. So we're going to bring this across like so. And we know that we have a distance of 100 here. Okay, I'll bring those down to meet it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw up a little model of this in SOLIDWORKS and put up maybe a separate video just to show you what this is. I can't show it at the same time but just so that you get an idea of how things are intersecting, particularly because this is a new topic, and it might make it a little bit easier for some of you there that can't visualize. So I'll add that video on as a separate video, and you'll see it in the playlist there as well. So we know that, and then we have these distances here, right? So you might say, well, what are those distances there? Well, they're directly related to this, okay? So if that's 50, right, and that's the center point, that means that from here to here is 50. So this is basically the top view of this shape. This is the front sort of the tent intersecting into it. So from there to there is 50. So if I have the center line, which I do because of my x, I know that half of 50 is 25. So I can come out 25 this way, and come out 25 this way. And now I have those lines. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll heavy in. Now you'll notice something different, and that's that these aren't finished off and that there's no intersecting points. And what we're asked to do is to actually figure these out. So what we do initially anyway is basically we'll heavy in what we know. So we're happy with that, we're happy with that, and we're happy with that. And by happy, I mean if we look at this, we know exactly that they're heavied in, and we know that these ones here, we don't know where to stop. So I'm just going to do these bits here. So I'll bring this to here, and I'll bring this to here. Okay, so these, we know something's going to meet, but we're just going to leave it for the minute. Okay, so we're happy with our plan and our end view. So it says draw the given plan elevation structure. Complete the overhang portion of the canopy on the left hand side in the plan. So that's sort of telling me here that there's something missing. Show all lines of interpenetration or intersection, that's another word for it, and draw an end view of the structure. So typically what we need to do is we need to draw an end view in order to solve it. There is ways of figuring it out without an end view, but once we go on to more complicated ones, definitely an end view will be needed, or possibly an auxiliary view at higher length. Okay, but again, that's a little bit ahead of us, so we'll explain that in a second. So I'm just going to get into the habit of actually using the 45-degree line this way, because I think that's what most of you are used to, and in a lot of ways it's probably the easiest way. So I'm going to bring these across to meet the 45-degree line for the end view. I think that's them all, and then I'll bring them together. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to draw the actual tent. So you imagine if you're at a concert and you're standing looking at this tent straight on, you're going to see the pyramid shape. I think this is the pyramid stage at Glastonbury. It's definitely a stage at Glastonbury, right, which is a music festival. So that's basically what we're going to see. Right, so that's basically the back of it. And then you can see there's an opening, basically there's a stage here where the band would be on stage. And that's this shape here. So that's why you have these lines. So I know that this is going to come up 45. So that actually happens to hit there by the looks of it, which would make sense actually. Okay, and then we know this bit here comes up 60. So what I might do is I might draw that in a different colour, and usually I use red to be light, so I'm trying to use purple. So I'm just drawing on top of this line just so that you can see, hopefully you can see that that's a purple there. Just double check that that was the size, it was 60. So what I'm doing here is basically just showing off the opening. Okay, so that's that. So that's the opening, and if I just shade it briefly, that's basically the purple opening. This is the purple opening down here, and this is it looking from the inside. So basically what I would see if I was to work with that. So what I'm asked to do is basically to figure out where exactly are the edges on this in plan view. So the first thing, if you look here, you'll see that there isn't, again, this is a good idea for a hint, there isn't an edge here as such, right? So, but it does come down as far as here. So let me see, there's a few different ways of looking at how to do this, and I suppose labelling is probably the key for the intersection of solid. It's nearly impossible. This one you might be able to figure out the points, but a lot of them you wouldn't be able to without it. So maybe if I get a different colour, I'll use a green here maybe. Or maybe we'll keep it the purple. Okay, so we'll call this point 1. We'll call this point 2, call this point 3, call this point 4, and call this point 5. So if we look here, 3 is easy, right? I'll just use my orange marker to show that if I project over there, oops, my teacher wasn't in, right? That's 3, and if I project over here, that's 2, and that's 4. Okay, so 3 is here at the front. That's literally if I was standing up here, if I could climb up there in the rigging and stand up there, there's 3. 2 is here, but also is 4. Okay, so they're literally at the front, and then 1 and 5 are here at the bottom. So this goes back at an angle. Okay, so then what I have to do is I have to follow them back. So the first one that's easiest to find is basically 3. So if I follow here, so 3 is here, 3 must be here, and then follow this line across. There we go, that's 3. So this is sort of similar to the hyperbolic paraboloid question in terms of using indexing or lumbering in order to find points. 2, bring it across, there's 2. So 2 is on this side. 4, bring it across, 4 is this one, 4 is here. 5 is along this line and also along this line, so there's 5. And finally, which one have I missed? 1. So 1 is along this line and 1 is also along this line, so there's 1. So hopefully they can be seen there on that. So what I'll do now is I'll join them together. So 1 goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4, and goes to 5. So that's basically what I would see if I was able to be up here in a helicopter looking down at the festival, and I'd see what exactly that looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, there's an edge coming along here, but it doesn't go right up to that surface there. So where does it finish off? Well, if we look here, that's along the line 3, and that finishes there. So that means I would expect to see an edge there, or a fold in the tent there. And what do you think I'll do with 2 and 4? I'll also bring them back down. And as you can see, they're actually on those lines. So that means that that will go to that, and that will go to that. Right? And as you can see here, there was a hint in terms of the fact that they showed you, well, this didn't fully seem to exist. So this will come to here, and this will come to here. So that bit there is basically that. So I don't know, these are basically a fabric, and they would be folded or how would you say, I don't know, sewn together or whatever the case is. I'm assuming they're sort of like a type of thick plastic. But if you imagine if it was a piece of metal, that would be the piece that would sit there. This surface here is all one piece. So that's basically all one piece. This is all one piece, and then this would be the covering at the back, again, that will keep the rain out of the back. And then obviously you can walk in through the inside. So that's our first intersection of solids. Okay, so we have our end view done. We've shown the lines of interpenetration, lines of intersection, basically where these different surfaces intersect. And that's the question completed. Okay, so as I said, I'll put up a 3D model. It might make it a little bit easier for you to see what's going on, but the more of that question that you get at this stage, the better. If you're struggling with some of it, I wouldn't be too worried. The more we practice on them, the more that they'll become apparent as to how exactly to do them.